This week, the world is expected to learn what the U.S. government knows about unidentified flying objects. Military leaders were ordered to produce an unclassified outline of investigations into UFO sightings made by its pilots. Senior correspondent Katie Simpson is in Washington. She's looking into this, going to have a report on the National tonight. But Katie, thanks for giving us some time with a preview of this. We were looking the other day at some of this video, and it's really fascinating. What have you learned?
Well, Heather, a few years ago, this kind of conversation on a mainstream news outlet would have seemed absolutely absurd, but it's just another sign of how attitudes around this are changing. And that is because military officials in the United States have confirmed that its pilots are spotting things it can't explain, and they are investigating them quietly but seriously. And when the United States government confirmed that, yes, these UFOs do exist, unidentified flying objects, but we don't know what they are, it really changed the conversation to give it a bit of credibility. Previously, people who were thought to, spot these things that they can't explain, the stereotypes for that were not exactly positive, but now the conversation is changing. And with Congress expected to get this unclassified report, it's expected to challenge expectations around how this conversation goes. And so we caught up with a man named Luis Elizondo. He actually led that investigation team into those military sightings by pilots, into things they can't explain, things that they see on their radar, things they see from their planes that they just simply can't explain. And he says there are three leading theories that exist right now as to what all these could be. One, these pilots have stumbled upon secret U.S. military technology that they weren't supposed to stumble upon. Two, perhaps it's an advance in technology by an adversary, likely China or Russia, and that they have surpassed U.S. aerospace capabilities. Or three, perhaps this is something from another world. This is something from outer space that just simply can't explain. And as you mentioned, there are so many videos that the defense officials have confirmed are authentic. So we asked Mr. Elizondo, what do you make of what you're the one who's leading these investigations when you were at the Pentagon. What do you make of these videos? What should the public think about this? Have a listen.
You see now in the public media, in my opinion, are some of the least compelling videos. And as compelling as they are, there are some that are even more compelling than that.
So we're waiting to get more details from this report about what exactly the Pentagon knows about this from this unclassified report. Now, we know from the New York Times, they have they've had a preview of the report. They have said that this report is expected to rule out the option that this is actually secret U.S. government technology. They're going to rule that option out. So it's going to leave two options on the table, something otherworldly. The New York Times also reported that there's no evidence to suggest that it's something otherworldly, but there's nothing to rule it out. So that leaves those two options right now on the table.
So Mr. Elizondo's voice is one we'll hear tonight in your report, but I think this is a really inspired choice. You went to talk about this with Chris Hadfield, of course, so well known, so well respected as a pilot and astronaut. What is his theory about all of this?
So Luis Elizondo won't offer an opinion as to what he thinks, but what he wants the public to do is to keep an open mind when looking at this, to say, look, it could be something otherworldly, it could be an adversary, but keep an open mind until we get more information and this issue is studied further. We went to Chris Hadfield. Not only is Chris Hadfield a retired astronaut and one of the most famous astronauts, not from Canada, from the world, he's also a former fighter pilot. He's also a former test pilot. He has spent more time flying planes and in space than most people could even dream of. So if anyone has sort of an idea of what this could be, it could be Chris Hadfield. While he says it's certainly interesting and he can understand why the public is fascinated by this story because it's something we just simply can't explain, he is certain these things are not from outer space.
It just makes no sense at all. That intelligent life from somewhere we have no idea. It's obviously not from our solar system because we've had a good look at every planet so far, could cross interstellar space. And they wouldn't try and, communicate with anybody. They would just sneak around and only be caught on strange-looking video by some fighter pilots. It doesn't pass any basic sniff test of logic.
Now, the report that is expected to be released by Friday, the deadline is Friday for it to be released by Congress. What we're hearing about the report is not expected to satisfy any side in this debate, whether it's someone who is, whatever people's preconceived positions are going into this report. It's not expected to answer all of these questions. But what it is expected to do is to keep the conversation alive. And that's exactly what Luis Elizondo hopes. And that it keeps it alive in a credible way. The U.S. military confirms that it's investigating these sightings. It just doesn't know what these sightings are.
Katie, thank you so much. Good to have some time with you this morning. Senior correspondent Katie Simpson, she's in Washington. Her report airs tonight on The National. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern here on CBC News Network and at 10 p.m. on CBC Television.